Hey everyone, Theo here. Welcome to my artist review of the OnePlus Pad. First of all, a disclaimer, this is not a review unit because the company did not respond to my request for a review unit. So in a way, I'm glad I purchased this because I will be making several comparison videos with this tablet versus the iPad and the Samsung Galaxy tablets with their respective pens. And there will be a note-taking video as well, and I have already made a video review for the magnetic keyboard. So this video is going to be quite long because I have a lot to say about this tablet. If you want to save time, you can check out the text review that I have already written. And if you only have 1 minute to decide whether or not to buy this tablet, just go read the list of pros and cons that I have on the text review. The first thing to know about this tablet is this is a rebrand tablet, which means there is another company selling the same tablet under a different brand, and that company is Oppo, the parent company of OnePlus, and that tablet is the Oppo Pad 2, which also supports the pen, the magnetic keyboard, and the folio. OnePlus Pad is running OxygenOS version 13.1 at the time of review. Oppo Pad 2 runs ColorOS version 13.1. The main features and functionality of these two operating systems are similar. It's just that this is in Chinese, OnePlus Pad is running the OS in English, and there are some minor design differences. The big difference comes down to the configuration. OnePlus Pad is only available with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. The Oppo Pad 2 is available with either 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, 12 gigs of RAM with 256 gigs of storage, or 512 gigs of storage. The OnePlus Pad is priced at US $479. This magnetic keyboard folio is $149. The OnePlus Stylo Pen is US $99, and there is another folio which is $49. As to whether this is worth the money, well, you can decide after watching this video. Alright, let me give you the bottom line up front. The hardware is fantastic. This is a thin, compact, portable tablet. The display is bright, vibrant, and sharp. The audio quality is amazing. The battery life is at least 10 to 11 hours. The pen supports palm rejection, tilt, and slightly over 4,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. The pen performance is actually comparable to the Apple Pencil and the Samsung S Pen, and that is an unexpected good surprise for me. So this pen is actually pretty good. It's quite accurate and sensitive. The only issue I discovered with this pen is you cannot change the tilt halfway while you're drawing. For example, when I'm drawing thin lines and I tilt the pen low to get those broad strokes, notice the line is still thin. Generally speaking, the hardware is amazing and the performance is smooth, lag-free, and this tablet is capable of graphics-intensive gaming. So the main thing that's holding this tablet back is actually OxygenOS, because there are many missing features that you can find on tablets from other companies that you cannot find here. I will talk more about the missing features later, but the one big feature that's missing that I need that's not available on this tablet is there is no 100% full backup option. If you create art to sell and to earn money, it's good to have backups, and seriously, you really don't want to lose years of your artworks due to unforeseen circumstances. Alright, so that's the bottom line, and now on to the full review, starting with the things included in the box. Everything is well packed in the box, and the items you will get are the safety guide, quick guide, the tablet. This is a rather long USB-A to USB-C charging cable. This is not a video cable. Anyway, this tablet cannot output video because this USB-C port only has USB 2 speeds. This is a 67 watt fast charger. I read that some countries don't include the charger. Let's look at the design of the tablet. This is a beautiful tablet, and my first impression of this tablet is it kind of looks like the iPad due to the 7:5 aspect ratio, which is quite similar to what you can get on iPads. So this is the iPad Pro 11 inch, and this is slightly smaller compared to the OnePlus Pad, which has an 11.6 inch IPS LCD display. This display size is very comfortable to work with for drawing, and the tablet is thin, compact, and lightweight. This is 552 grams, so this is a tablet I can hold easily in one hand like this to draw with without the attached folio case or keyboard case, of course. If you're drawing with the tablet on the table, this can wobble on the sides due to the big camera bump behind. So to prevent the wobble, you may want to place the tablet on the folio or on the keyboard folio and fold it back like this. It's definitely better to have the tablet on a stand where you can adjust the angle for a more comfortable drawing position. The bezels are quite thin on all four sides. The corners, including the LCD, are rounded off. The edges are beveled. There is one 8 megapixel camera here in the landscape orientation, and on the back there is the camera bump with the 13 megapixel camera with flash. That's the OnePlus logo. On the Oppo Pad 2, this is the Oppo logo. So this tablet is only available in this green color, which looks like an olive green to me. This is a matte surface, metallic texture, and there's this concentric circle design coming out from the camera bump. This is the left side of the tablet in landscape orientation, and that's the power button. There are two speakers on this side and two on the other side, and the audio quality from the speakers is amazing. The speakers are loud, clear, and has good surround and depth. I think it's probably due to the Dolby Atmos technology that they have. And this is the keyboard connector, and this is the other side, the right side. So again, two speakers. The USB-C port here is just for charging. The transfer speed is USB 2, so this will not output video. There are two volume buttons on the top with good feedback, and this flat side is for attaching the OnePlus stylo, and the magnets are quite strong. So when this pen is attached, it will show the charging icon, and this pen will pair with Bluetooth to the tablet. This pen is meant to be attached to the right side. Now there are magnets elsewhere, but if you attach the pen elsewhere, you're not going to get the proper attachment. I love this 7:5 aspect ratio because I find this to be more versatile compared to 16:9 or 16:10 aspect ratio, which are the wide angle aspect ratios. And the reason for that is because I actually use my tablets in portrait orientation quite often, especially when browsing or surfing web pages and when I'm writing my reviews. With a tablet in portrait orientation, I can see more lines of text. And when this is in landscape orientation, it looks great as well, just not as great when it comes to watching videos because there are going to be thick black bars at the top and bottom. So if you're someone who watches a lot of videos, then this aspect ratio is not going to be ideal. I use my tablets mostly as digital sketch pads, and this is a very comfortable tablet to hold thanks to the curved sides, and this actually allows me to hold the tablet for long periods of time without discomfort. So this tablet is more comfortable to hold compared to the iPads with the flat sides and the sharper corners. This is an A5 size sketchbook, and this 11.6 inch display is bigger than this sketchbook. I enjoy drawing outdoors on location, and the weight of this tablet at 552 grams is very manageable for one-hand use like this. Although when you're holding it in landscape orientation, most of the weight will go to this side, so it's actually more comfortable to hold the tablet this way in portrait orientation. If you want to draw on the tablet with the folio or the keyboard case attached, it's going to get tiring really quickly. So whenever I'm sketching outdoors, I would find some place to put this away. Let's talk more about this 11.61 inch IPS LCD display. The resolution is 2800 by 2000, so with that resolution on an 11.6-inch display, all the visuals look sharp without noticeable pixelation. The colors on this display look great out of the box. The refresh rate is up to 144 Hz, so when you're scrolling through web pages or when you have the zoom in and out animation, all the animation is going to look really smooth. The visual quality you can get from this display is amazing. It's pretty good. It's not an OLED display, so the contrast ratio is not going to be as high as OLED, which can get up to 1 million to 1. Here, this LCD display only has contrast ratio of 1400 to 1, which already looks pretty good in my opinion. And the brightness is up to 500 nits. Again, this is not an OLED display, so this is not going to give you true HDR effect, even though the brightness is kind of bright. The main downside of this display is it's very reflective because there is no anti-reflective coating, so the brightness of this display is good enough for use under the sun. It's just that the reflections are quite glaring for me. The viewing angles are very good, so you can view the display from extreme angles, and there is minimal color shift with slight drop in brightness due to the glass but not the viewing angle. There are two color modes for the display on the OnePlus Pad, Vivid and Natural, and by default this display is running with Vivid. So when you're drawing, all the colors that you pick from the color wheel will actually look more vibrant than usual, to the point that when you export your art out as a JPEG and you view it on another tablet or on a computer screen, the colors will look dull. So if you want the art on the OnePlus Pad to match the colors on other displays, you will have to go into settings to change the display mode from Vivid to Natural. So now if I switch back to this drawing app, which is Medibank Paint, you can see the colors actually match the colors here. This is a JPEG and this is the Medibank Paint file. But if I use the Vivid color mode, so now all the colors are more vibrant, and I can see the red here is just more punchy. And this is not an accurate representation of what other people will see on your Instagram or on whichever website you share your art on. This display is laminated, so there is no gap between the glass and the LCD beneath. So when you're drawing, it really looks like the line is coming out from beneath the pen tip. Let's look at the OnePlus Stylo digital pen, which looks very similar to the Apple Pencil 2. The length is almost the same, the color is the same, the shape is also almost the same. This pen is almost cylindrical except for this flat side here that's used to attach to the side of the tablet for charging. So on the back we have this very glossy end cap, and that's the OnePlus brand logo here, and that's the pen tip which you can unscrew. Now this pen tip section here is actually smaller compared to the Apple Pencil. So when you unscrew this, you will see how long this pen tip really is. The Apple pen tip has a simpler design in my opinion because there is no metal part, whereas for the OnePlus there is this plastic tip attached to this long metal rod at the back. I'm pretty sure the replacement pen tips will be available in the future, and hopefully they are not going to be too expensive. So this pen supports tilt, palm rejection, and slightly over 4000 levels of pressure sensitivity. And I like how tapered this is, just like the Apple Pencil 2. The pen tip is quite firm, so there is no movement when the pen tip is in contact with the drawing surface. Build quality for the OnePlus Stylo is solid, however this is not as dense compared to the Apple Pencil. So when I tap the pen like this, I can feel there is some empty space inside. Same applies when I tap the pen on the tablet. And this is the Apple Pencil for comparison. This pen does not have any shortcut buttons and there is no tapping for shortcuts. OnePlus Stylo is an active stylus, so the tablet can detect the pen and show you the cursor. But whether or not the cursor is visible will depend on the drawing app you use. And with certain drawing apps, they may not even show you the brush preview for all brushes. So this app that I'm using right now is Krita, and I can see the cursor. So this is good for digital painters because when you are painting, you will want to see how big the brush is on the canvas, so that when you lay down the brush stroke, you know how much space or how much paint is going onto the canvas. And since the pen supports tilt, the cursor can follow the direction of the pen as well. Clip Studio is another app that can show you the cursor preview, the brush, the size, and the shape. And Clip Studio also allows you to adjust the pressure sensitivity of the pen. Whether you can adjust the pressure curve of the pen again will depend on the app you use. Time for some line tests. This app that I'm using is Minibank Paint Pro, and I'm testing the initial activation force, and this is how thick the brush really is. So even with a thick brush selected, I can still draw thin lines quite easily. But the real test really comes when you are drawing thin and thick, but can the pen go back to giving you those thin lines? And this pen is able to do so. There is slight wobble there, so let's test the slow diagonal lines. Let me draw the diagonal lines slowly without any assistance from the ruler. I don't do ruler tests because I don't really draw diagonal lines with ruler on my tablet. There is some variance with pressure because my hand is applying pressure, but this is very good performance that is comparable to the Apple Pencil and the Samsung S Pen. By the way, whether or not you can see the cursor will depend on which drawing app you're using. And with certain drawing apps, you can actually turn off the cursor. And now let's see how the lines taper. They taper very well. The lines can taper very smoothly and very sharply. And you can draw dots very easily while tapping on the screen. It's just that this is a hard plastic nib, so when you're tapping, you can hear the tapping sound. And now let me try and maintain consistent pressure to draw lines with consistent width. I can do so rather easily. There is slight variance with the pressure due to my control, but this is pretty good performance. The next thing I want to show you is latency, and this app Minibank Paint Pro has a lot of latency. So you can obviously see the line trying to chase the pen tip. This is Clip Studio, and the latency performance here is actually better compared to Minibank Paint Pro. Now this pen is advertised with 2 milliseconds latency response, but the thing is you can only get that sort of performance with compatible apps, and unfortunately most drawing apps will not give you that ideal latency performance. Having said that, I certainly don't have any issues with the latency when it comes to drawing, because I'm usually not drawing like long sweeping lines when I am drawing. So here I'm trying to draw some building blocks that my 1.5-year-old daughter is playing. What I want to show you is how I can connect the lines without the lines overshooting or without the lines leaving gaps. It's probably not very obvious with the pencil brush, so I've just switched over to using a pen brush, and I am joining the lines together without any difficulty at all. The line will always appear directly beneath the pen tip regardless of how you hold the pen, whether vertically or at a very low angle. So that means this pen is pretty accurate. And you can get accurate cursor tracking right up to the extreme edge as well. And palm rejection is flawless, so I can rest my palm on the display while writing or drawing, and I will not be able to introduce any stray strokes. And finger gestures work well. Everything is very fluid and responsive. The main issue with this pen's performance is with tilt sensitivity. It is not possible to change the tilt effect while you're drawing halfway. So right now I'm tilting the pen real low, but I'm still getting those thin lines. So right now I am using that pen at an angle to get those broad strokes, but if I tilt the pen vertically, I still get the broad strokes. That tilt performance presents a problem to me because I like to use tilt brushes for coloring my sketches. I like to hold the pen vertically to color the tiny areas, to color the details, and tilt the pen to color big areas, but I can't do so with this pen. So to color this big area, for example, I will have to lift the pen and go down at an angle like this. This tilt issue is probably something that can be solved with a software update. And this happens with other drawing apps as well. I like to test tablets and the pens for drawing performance by drawing vehicles, because with vehicles there are many diagonal lines. So whether or not the tablet is affected by diagonal line wobble, that is something you will be able to see very clearly when you are drawing vehicles. So right now I am drawing diagonal lines. Let me just draw those diagonal lines very slowly, and yep, I definitely have no issues with drawing diagonal lines here. And I can join the lines very easily. So the drawing performance with this pen is predictable and consistent. If you are using an app that has a lot of user interface elements, such as palettes on the left and right side, they can take up quite a bit of space on the tablet, leaving you with this smaller canvas space to work with. So I'm using this fill brush to color the shapes very quickly. So while drawing this, I really didn't experience any issues with the latency. The overall drawing experience is very positive. This app is Infinite Painter, and it has some issues with this brush called Manga Inker. You can see the lines, they don't taper nicely. I'm not sure why this is so, because if I switch over to the Cos Inker brush, which should behave the same, Cos Inker actually tapers more smoothly and sharply, although there are still some round edges here. So for Manga Inker, I actually have to adjust the smoothness maybe to 10% to get those lines to taper better. Yep, so now it tapers a bit better. I have that problem with Sketchbook as well. So this is going to affect some brushes, not all the brushes. And take a look at the text that I have here with the shoelace effect. This is very ugly. Even though Infinite Painter has the problem with the tapering strokes, I don't really experience the problem while sketching after adjusting the brush settings. If I don't adjust the brush settings, I will see the problem. But after adjusting the brush settings, I can actually draw without facing much issues. So this was a sketch that I drew the other night of my daughter who is drawing on a tablet, and I did not experience any difficulty sketching this sketch. My overall drawing experience is positive. I think the main thing really comes down to how lightweight the tablet is and how I was able to hold the tablet in one hand and draw. That makes a huge difference, because if I am to use the tablet together with the case, it's going to be heavier, it's going to be uncomfortable for drawing, and I will probably need to set the tablet and the case down on a table to draw for long periods of time. But with the tablet alone, I can just hold it in hand and just sketch. And this sketch was drawn with Concepts, my favorite sketching and illustration app. So you can see my style here is quite loose and sketchy. If you want to use this tablet and pen for creating professional art, for creating comics, I think the performance is definitely good enough for creating professional art. I mean, you can see for yourself that the pen performance is consistent and predictable during the line test, so I will not have any worries with using this tablet and pen for creating professional art. It's just that for my personal art style and work, I prefer the looser, sketchy, casual look. So I had great fun sketching all this, and there wasn't any moment where I thought to myself, oh, I can't draw this because this pen is not good enough, except for the issue with the tilt. Another thing that affects drawing experience is how smooth the plastic pen tip is when drawing on the glass surface. And it is quite smooth, which is good for writing, because when you're writing, you want to write fast, and smooth is good for writing fast. However, when you're drawing, you may want more control, so this is smooth. And it's going to take some time to get used to how smooth this is. It is possible to apply a matte screen protector on the display, but that's going to affect the image quality. So personally for me, nowadays I just try to get used to drawing with smooth plastic tips. Let's talk about file management, storage, and whether 128 gigs of internal storage is enough for creating digital art. If you are a professional artist who is going to be using this tablet as your main illustration tool, 128 gigs of storage without the micro SD card slot feels quite limiting. So one issue I have with this tablet is there is no micro SD card slot. The OnePlus Pad 2 is available with 256 to 512 gigs of storage, but for some reason, the OnePlus Pad is only sold with this single configuration with just 128 gigs of storage. Whether you will run out of storage will come down to how big or how high-res your artworks are, and also the type of software you are using. If you use a drawing app that allows you to save artworks to the cloud, such as Clip Studio Paint, MediaBank Paint Pro, then you don't have to worry about running out of storage because your artworks are not stored on the tablet. If you use Krita, you can save your artworks to a folder in the internal storage, and you can transfer all those artworks out very easily through the USB-C port or to Google Drive. That's the advantage of Krita. If you use Krita, you don't have to worry about running out of storage. But if you use apps like Infinite Painter, Sketchbook, Artflow, HiPaint, Ibis Paint, or any drawing app that saves the art into internal storage within the app itself, it's problematic, because there will come a point in time in the future where you will need to upgrade your tablet, and you have to think about how you're going to export or transfer those files out to another tablet. There are two backup options available on this tablet, and those two backup options will not save the artworks that were saved within the drawing apps. This means if your tablet is damaged, stolen, or if you want to upgrade to another tablet in the future, you are going to be facing great inconvenience when it comes to exporting all those artworks out from the drawing apps that save the artworks within the drawing apps and not into the file system like Krita. Let's talk about OxygenOS, the things I like and dislike. So OxygenOS looks good, it runs smooth, it's stable. Direct file transfer to other Windows devices is handled by Nearby Share, which is the app that comes pre-installed in Android systems. There is this smart sidebar which is customizable with additional shortcuts, and this is quite useful. There is the usual dock at the bottom, and this is where I will start talking about the negative things and the missing features. It may seem like there is a lot of space here, but you can only fit 6 shortcuts. Even if you remove the recent apps and there is more space here, you can't fit more shortcuts. And this tablet does not have SIM card support. There's no cellular support, so I don't understand why there is the phone and the messages shortcut here on the dock. The default file management app is My Files, and this app has very limited features. So for file management, you will definitely need to get some other app from the Google Play Store. And within the default Files app, you will not see any integration with cloud services such as Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, and Dropbox. Even though the default file management app does not have integration with Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, and Dropbox, it's still possible to export your art out to cloud storage. This, by the way, is Krita, and the UI looks a bit small on this display, but it's still usable. So when I save as the file here, I can save it to Google Drive and to Dropbox, but for some reason I cannot get the Microsoft OneDrive connection to work. So again, that's a software issue that OnePlus can probably fix with a software update. Some of the apps that are designed for vertical orientation for phones are not going to rotate automatically. For example, with Reddit, it's going to show you that vertical orientation in landscape mode. This is obviously unusable. With Facebook and with Instagram, they will actually rotate the app for you. You can still use this in the so-called correct orientation, but not with Reddit and some other apps. If you want to record your time-lapse art videos, the default screen recorder will record at 1920 by 1372 at 16 megabits per second. So I personally use this app which will record at 1440p at 48 megabits per second, which is going to give me much higher visual quality. Alright, to conclude, the OnePlus Pad is a well-designed, good-looking tablet with solid build quality. The performance is fantastic. The audio quality is so good. The drawing performance, I would say, is good enough for creating professional artworks because this pen is accurate, sensitive, the performance is consistent and predictable. The performance is comparable to the Apple Pencil 2 and Samsung S Pen. So this tablet is great for drawing. For the downsides and limitations, well, there is no micro SD card slot, there's no desktop mode, and this USB-C port cannot output video. But the main downsides or limitations for me really comes from OxygenOS. More specifically, I do need those backup options. I'm always thinking about backups because I'm always thinking about what's going to happen to my artworks if the tablet is damaged or if I need to upgrade one tablet to another tablet. How am I going to get those files out? Will I have to copy or export the files out one by one? Because if I have to do that, then I'm not going to be buying that tablet. If you're someone who already has an Android tablet or Android phone and you're thinking of switching over to using the OnePlus Pad as your main drawing tool, I want you to do some research on how you can export your artworks out for backup, because you have to do your backup manually. You cannot rely on OxygenOS to back up your artworks for you. And if you are a beginner or if you are getting your first Android tablet, go with drawing apps that can save artworks to the folder system or can save artworks to the cloud. Okay, let me know in the comment section below what you think about this tablet and also other questions that you may have. And do watch out for the comparison videos that I will be putting out next week. The OnePlus Pad versus iPad and OnePlus Pad versus the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra. See you guys in the next video. Bye!